Live from New York, it's the show that has two naughty little children in the audience today. It's first things first.
Here.
Today, is there a chance Dak Prescott can be Brew's new dark horse MVP? Brew, don't give it away. Don't give it away. Meanwhile, in 35 minutes, an apology from Nick to me for making me entertain and suffer through several fake quarterback controversies in New England, even though I said, quote, that's a bad take, that's bad for the show. And finally, prediction week rolls on. 4 divisions today, including the AFC West, so buckle up alongside Chris Broussard. I'm Kevin Wilds. Nick?
Yeah.
You want to do the apology now or later in the show?
There will be no apology, so now or later. There's no reason for it. I am excited for prediction week, and I'm excited to see who's going to be saddled with the curse of being Brew's dark horse MVP. It's ended poorly for both of us. Yeah, I think it was Jameis who got hurt and Russell Wilson who
I think it was
abandoned.
Tua.
I think it was Russell Wilson. We're going to have to check this.
They both played
It's
well.
like the Madden curse. It's like an honor.
Russell
They
Wilson
were great
played
until they got hurt.
Gotcha.
Too.
We start with our first look at Trey in a Cowboys uniform. It's kind of there it is. I saw a star. Trey has moved from the number 3 pick in the draft to the number 3 quarterback in San Francisco to the number 3 quarterback in Dallas. But when he heard the news of his new home, he was thrilled. Take a listen.
I really tried to not, expect anything one way or another, but I can say that when I heard Cowboys, I had a big smile on my face. I was very excited to be here. Coach McCarthy and the entire coaching staff, nothing but knowledge in all these meetings. So it's been awesome for me. It's been fun, kind of a breath of fresh air to learn a new offense and just like I said, being around the guys these last 2 days, I feel like I've learned so much just ball.
Nice. Should the Cowboys have a package for Trey to get him on the field?
At some point this year, absolutely. There's no reason not to. There is no reason not to use a potential added wrinkle, something other teams have to prepare for, and to keep Dak Prescott as clean as you possibly can. By the way, the San Francisco 49ers had a package for Trey by week 1 his rookie year. And he threw a touchdown, his first play. And his second play, he ran for a touchdown. So, the idea that you're going to have a guy who is, I understand he's not one of the highest paid, top 10 highest paid guys on your team, but he is one of the 20 highest paid guys, making $5 million guaranteed next year. You spent a 4th-round pick on him. To do that and to just be like, but there's no chance he sees the field in any capacity when he's 23 years old and was a consensus first-round pick, that would be foolish. Now, should he be competing with Dak Prescott? Of course not. Could they find a package to use his unique run-pass ability? Why would they not do that? Why would you deprive yourself of that? And why would you let other teams off the hook to where, all right, we do have to prepare, spend a few minutes during the week when the Cowboys are coming up for what we do if they're in that goal line package that has Trey Lance? What's the downside to it?
No, 1,000 times no. This is a horrible idea. No franchise quarterback worth his salt wants to go out of the game during meaningful playing time and have his backup come in and play.
Tell that to Drew Brees.
Yeah, Drew Brees did it because he was 40.
No, they did
Drew
it before
Brees
he was 40.
Oh, 39. My bad.
Did it,
39. Taysom Hill did it. He was old.
Yeah.
I'm seriously. The only quarterbacks that want to put up with that are dudes that are mediocre. So Jimmy G, as much as I love him, he was mediocre. All right, Jimmy G was fine with it because I'm just a decent quarterback,
sure,
and there's not that much of a gap between you and the guy behind you. Or Drew Brees at the end of his career, 38, 39, 40 years old plus.
But Drew Brees was still an MVP candidate.
He was old, though.
But
he had taken a ton of hits. He was limited. So I'm telling you, if you're a starting quarterback, especially if you're a franchise quarterback, there is no way I want to come out of the game for a package for this guy. And I think when you have a package, it often makes you predictable. Because Trey Lance coming in, more likely they're going to run or run some type of action that might be
Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill's going to run the ball, guys, and he would run it 40
Taysom Hill
yards.
was pretty good at it. It worked. But again, You think there's noise now?
I don't
think
care
it's
about noise.
foolish noise, but there's noise now about, Trey Lance is here to take Dak's job. Wait till you start bringing him in for a package.
Well,
ideally, Nick, for the Cowboys, if everything goes right for them this year, you won't even see Trey Lance at all. Unless it's a 35-point blowout and he's in the fourth quarter.
They lost their goal line back in Zeke. This is a 23-year-old that, again, people have asked me, why am I so high on Trey? It's not that I'm high on Trey. It is that I actually, and I did it this morning, but I had previously as well, have watched, because it's very easy, every play of his career.
No.
And so can I just tell the audience?
7 of them?
No, but hold on, let's talk about it, because he's played in 7 games, okay? Game 1, rookie year. 1 throw, 5 yards, touchdown. That's the extent of his action.
Sure.
Bro, I'm going to ask you to listen to this with an open mind.
I'm listening.
Game 3 of his rookie year. 1 play, 1 rush, 1 touchdown. Whatever. Game 4 of his rookie year, the third time he played, he comes in at halftime. He goes 9 of 18 for 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and runs 7 times for 41 yards. That's pretty good.
Sure.
In a guy coming in without prep for an injured Jimmy Garoppolo. Game 4 of his career. He starts the next week, plays poorly. He's 15 of 29, 190 yards, but 0 touchdowns, a pick. Runs the ball 16 for 89, but that's fine. Then does not play again until week 17. In week 17, he's excellent. He's 16 of 23, has 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and runs the ball for 30 yards. That's the end of his rookie season. The next year, he starts week 1, and he was 13 of 28 for 160 in the rainstorm. By the way, Justin Fields, who is some people's actual dark horse MVP, in the same game from the same draft class, was 8 of 17 for 121. And the next game, he broke his leg. So what evidence do we have that he is not the guy that was a consensus first-round pick? What evidence do we have?
Brock Purdy came in and played better.
No,
because I can show you a graphic. We had it for the other day. I don't know if Dusty can round it up. He only played, like you said, limited action. But Brock Purdy was in limited action and played much better, far better. Now, the thing is this. Even if I'm not out on Trey Lance, he might be something later on in his career. The Cowboys didn't get him to help him this year. I don't think that's. Well, one, Jerry Jones said it. But beyond that, I don't think they need Trey Lance. If they need Trey Lance to come in and save the day, then Dak Prescott is not the guy he's supposed to be. Not even close. A top 10 quarterback, I'm guarantee you, Nick, he don't want Trey Lance coming in and running a package.
Wilds, who have I advocated the Kansas City Chiefs sign the last 2 years?
I get it. Cam Newton.
Have they done it?
No,
but you never run the ball.
What?
But you don't let Mahomes run the ball.
Correct. And Dak Prescott, since he got his leg snapped in half running the ball, does not run it as often. And we think that hurts
but
him.
Is there a package?
What?
For somebody, Chad Henne, does he have a package?
No, because the Chiefs don't have that player on the roster.
Well, they could go get Cam, and they don't want
to. You have direct snaps to Kelsey.
We have direct snaps to the tight end. We have different stuff. The point that I'm trying to make is, this is you're saying that no top 10 quarterback would ever do it, while glossing over the fact that Drew Brees was an MVP candidate.
That's a different circumstance.
He was old, but his age was not why they used Taysom Hill. It was not trying to save Drew Brees from anything. But he was an MVP candidate when they signed Taysom Hill.
Why don't more teams do it?
There aren't a lot of these guys available. What do you mean, why don't more teams do it? What are we saying?
A guy that's athletic, can run the ball, can throw it a little bit. There's a lot of guys out there that you could go get. Cam Newton, who you've mentioned, teams could go get for a goal line package. A starting quarterback who can play, barring a Drew Brees who's old. And I think that is a huge factor. If I'm in my late 30s, that's fine. But if I'm in the prime of my career, Dak is 30 years old. He does not win. I don't blame him. I'm the quarterback. I can run it. I can throw it. I can run the team the whole game, period.
To Bruce's point, if in your scenario, everything's coming up roses, you give the ball to Trey Lance, he throws a touchdown, Dak doesn't mind that those stats go to Trey Lance and it's coming up with a contract. I'm just saying.
They do mind. They're human.
What happens if it goes wrong? Trey Lance gets the ball, fumbles it. You think Dak Prescott's going to be asked after the game, hey, man, Trey had the ball at the goal line and fumbled. Do you wish you were out there?
Hold on a second.
It's not going to go rosy for every time you put him in the game.
But it doesn't go rosy with any play ever. We've seen the New England Patriots in multiple Super Bowls have wide receivers throw passes.
Yeah.
One of them to Tom Brady. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We see guys do outside of the box things. We saw the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game lightly unveil a lateral package.
Yeah, I like
there
that.
are things, and that could have gone totally sideways. Of course, there is risk involved. My point is very, very simple. You have a player who is 23 years old, who the entire league looked at as a legit blue chipper. Maybe not the third overall pick, but it was read any draft profile, read any of it. He was considered a consensus first rounder. You have now made the active choice when you are a Super Bowl contender to, according to the Niners, blow everyone else out of the market in trading for him. To do that and then simply say, no chance you touch the field this year would be foolish.
I've got a Dak Prescott at quarterback. Why do I need to bring in another quarterback?
Why did they trade for him?
I think for the future, because he's a talented guy. We can get him for a 4th round pick. Let's see. Okay. That's it.
All right, let's take a look at MVP odds. Mahomes at 1, then it's Burrow. Josh Allen's still at number 3. Jalen Hurts, Herbert, Lamar. Oh, here.
Oh, good job. Great job, Rick.
It's just unnecessary, though.
What do you mean?
It's just a full screen.
What do you
Rodgers, Justin Fields was 5-20 in his career.
Yeah.
And Dak, then Tua. Brew, it's prediction week. As a little bonus prediction, are you willing to call Dak a dark horse MVP?
Well, look, despite Nick mocking me, my dark horse MVP record I'm proud of.
Really?
Because Jameis Winston was right there until he got hurt.
And
they were 5-2. I think 14 touchdowns, 3 picks. Nice numbers. All right. And then Tua led the league in almost everything until he got hurt.
Are you sure it wasn't Russell Wilson last year?
Yeah, it wasn't Russell Wilson.
Who was it?
You keep putting it was Tua.
It was
Tua. This look, I'll unveil my actual dark horse pick at the end of this. My little spiel. But right now, I'll say dark. I'll say Dak is a dark horse candidate.
No, but not the.
Not the.
Okay.
That's pretty close. That list. Other than I wouldn't have Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a real dark horse candidate, right? If you want to throw that out, but the narrative is there. Nick, you think the Cowboys are going to have a great year? You got to win in the division. And if they win 13 or 14 games.
Of course.
I mean, come on.
Just doing
Why
that.
do you say come on? They won 12 last year.
Right.
They won 12
with that
last year.
I'm not saying it's definitely how. I'm just saying, humor me. If they win 13 or 14 games and Dak goes back to 2021, 37 touchdowns, 10 picks, doesn't have the numbers of Mahomes and Allen or guys like, but the numbers are good. He'll be in the
Of course. I don't think he is a dark horse. I think he's a legit candidate. Just real quick, before I give my answer.
My real
well, 2 things. One is, if he were to be MVP, is he elite then?
No.
Okay.
Was Rich Gannon ever elite?
Okay.
Oh, my God. You got to go.
You're going off.
Hold on.
20 years.
I'm bringing facts.
I know, we can't do Rich Gannon and then Jameis. We're way off.
Too much
Rich
going on.
Gannon was an MVP.
Before I give my answer, who is your dark horse?
No, he's
the
not.
number 1 dark horse. And a dark horse means I don't think they're going to win it. But
we understand.
Derek Carr.
Okay.
Wow, I like that.
He's had a top 10 defense. How many times in his career? I know
0.
you know. 0.
Yeah.
He hadn't even had a top 19
He's
defense.
had a top 10 arm 0 times and a top 19 arm 0 times.
Look, if he throws for $4,000 and they win games,
I think Dak
he got a chance.
has the third best chance to win the MVP. I think it's Mahomes, Trevor, Dak. Those should be because the point Brew made and all the gobbledygook that you heard the last few minutes. The most important one was to win MVP, your team's got to win at least 12 games, usually more. The last few MVPs, the team wins are 14, 13, 13, 14, 12 for Mahomes when he set all those records, 13, 11 for Matt Ryan, that's the outlier, 15 for Cam, 12 for Rodgers. And so when I look at the other people on this list, if we were to put the odds up, I don't think anyone from the AFC North is going to have a monster record because it's just going to be, I think the Bengals, Ravens, Steelers are all going to beat each other up. I do not think the Bills are going to go from team worst vibes, weirdest offseason to Josh Allen having the best year of his career. Jalen Hurts, if I'm wrong about the Eagles regressing, I lost both coordinators, worried about the safety loss, that stuff. Jalen could be a legit candidate, but I think the Eagles are going to be closer to 10 wins than 13 wins. So I think Trevor and the Jags are going to have a monster year. And I think he's going to have monster stats because the defense isn't that good. Mm-hmm. And I think the Cowboys are going to be a 13-win team in the 1 seed. So then he will definitely be near the top of the MVP discussion.
So Josh and I were out here grinding. If you think Dak can lead the league in touchdowns, then you think he can be the MVP.
Yeah.
If you don't think he can lead the league in touchdowns, he's not the MVP.
I don't think he can lead the league. You think he can lead the league?
So look at this, bro. 4 out of the last 5 MVPs. Just straight up look at the past touchdowns leaders. They're your MVP, except 1 year when Rodgers threw, it was Rodgers and Brady. That Brady had more touchdowns, but Rodgers had 3 interceptions. So I think the Cowboys like to run the ball. They ran the ball 10th most in the NFL last year. So they're going to run too much. Dak's going to be okay, but he's not going to throw 40 touchdowns.
Well, I agree. I don't think Dak will lead the league in touchdowns.
He's not my pick to lead the league in touchdowns, and to be clear, he's not my pick to win MVP. It's going to be hard to win MVP when a guy goes 20-0, but
he doesn't know
and so the defense. The Chiefs have leaned on the defense a lot the last 5 years.
Chris Jones doesn't matter.
And so listen,
Andy
but I
Reid
think Dak should be. I don't think he has to lead the league in touchdown passes to win MVP. If the Cowboys are the 1 seed, when the Cowboys were the 1 seed his rookie year, as a rookie, he got MVP votes. So and Matt Ryan ended up winning it that year at that amazing.
That's another one.
Offense.
Matt Ryan.
What?
Was he elite?
Matt Ryan?
Was he elite?
The year he won the MVP, they had the 8th highest scoring offense ever, and they went to the Super Bowl. Yeah,
maybe one time that could be elite.
7 topics in 1 segment.
Prediction
week rolls on next on FS1 and the Fox Sports Channel on Sirius XM. Can Russ slide
I
into
never
the playoffs?
get tired of that.
It's fantastic.
That video.
Hey, college football fans, Joel Klatt here. We are bringing you the best college football analysis every week. Any questions? Then send them into the Joel Klatt Show mailbag. Follow the Joel Klatt Show on the Fox Sports app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to just an excellent show, and welcome to day 3 of Predictions Week. These predictions are set in stone, and we will be staked to them for the rest of the year. One caveat about rooting interests. You are allowed to fervently root for your hometown team and also root for the Chiefs.
No.
It's like being a Bulls fan in the 90s. You're doing yourself
That's my take.
Exactly. All Chiefs fans have that take. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't get on board, especially if you're beloved at the parade. Okay. We will predict every division, every award, and every playoff game, and we start today with the basement of the AFC West. Nick, take it away.
Basement dweller last year, basement dweller this year, the Denver Broncos. It's a disastrous season on deck for Denver. Unfortunately, they've already lost key players, particularly receivers, due to injury. I think the loss of defensive coordinator, coach, I'm telling you, coaching matters. E.J. Evero is going to hurt them. And I do not think Sean Payton is going to be able to fix it all in one offseason because he cannot fix Russell Wilson one offseason because Russell Wilson is not fixable. The Denver Broncos in last place once again. Third place, Las Vegas Raiders. They lost 5 games last year. They led by 7 or more points. They lost 3 games. They led by 17 or more points. I think some of that will be better, and I do think that there is not a massive drop-off from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo, assuming Jimmy stays healthy, which is tough, but it is a bit of a drop-off. That's why they don't take more of a leap, and I don't trust the head coach that much. Sorry on that one, coach, but the Raiders are in 3rd place. 2nd place, same as last year. In fact, this whole division, same as last year. The Los Angeles Chargers. A lot of talent. They are bitten by the injury bug every single year, seemingly at an unfair rate. But the biggest thing working against the Chargers is something they did to themselves and they have no way to fix. They have 0 home games. And when I think that is a margin that is almost impossible to make up. When half your games are true road games, about 4 of them are neutral site, and then 4 of them are the most demoralizing type possible, which is the home road game when you're in a silent count. So for those reasons, I think they have a ceiling that some of the other teams in the AFC don't have. And then, of course, the 90s Bulls, as I said 2 weeks ago, the Kansas City Chiefs. There are only 2 really interesting questions with the Chiefs this year. The first one is, This team that has won 8 consecutive games, will they be 13-0 when they head to New England?
Let's go.
Trying to beat the New England record of 21 straight victories. It would be a 22nd straight victory on national television in New England. Then if they do that,
be there.
the only we'll be there, no problem. You'll be rooting for the Patriots and I'll be rooting for the Chiefs. The only other question, Brew, is of course, can they be the first team ever to go 20-0?
Wow.
I think they maybe can, but we'll discuss that more later. Go ahead. Oh, don't sigh, Coach.
Yeah,
Coach, don't sigh. Let Brew
chomping at the bit. All right, we're similar, but I got number 4 as the Raiders. Okay, and look, they do have talent. They had talent last year, though. All right, they not only did they had made the playoffs, they had Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones.
Okay.
And do we have that picture? But anyway, and they lose. What, they win 6-7 games last year? So they got worse. I look, Jimmy G.
What? Dusty the graphic.
Dusty,
how are they last?
we got the graphic.
How are they
I'm
last?
about to tell you.
Okay, sorry.
I don't trust Josh McDaniels as a head coach. Nice coordinator, but the record speaks for itself. Like I said, last year they added talent and got worse. I think they're going to struggle with him, and this will probably be his last year there.
Yikes.
And then Jimmy G, he has trouble staying healthy.
Okay.
That's all I say. All right, at number 3, Denver. This is a Sean Payton pick. This is trust in Sean Payton. I do think he'll get better stuff out of Russ.
These are your teams.
I
Your
keep it
teams and
objective.
your
I'm
guys.
the most objective guy up here. So that's all I'm doing. I'd love for Russ to have a resurrection. I do think he'll play better because not only is he playing for a starting job this year and in the future, but he's playing for his legacy. We've talked about it. Maybe that certain Hall of Famer that we all thought, maybe it's not so certain anymore. So I think he'll play well, but you said it, the receivers are already banged up.
Yep.
Defense will be strong, run game will be strong. I think they can win 7 games. All right, at number 2, but not in the playoffs.
Wow.
The Chargers. And you talked a lot about it, Nick. They don't have a home field. And we know how tough the AFC is. Their division, I think those games with the Raiders and Broncos will still be tough games. And no home field advantage. The defense has not been good under Staley, even though that's supposed to be his bread and butter. I think they'll be better, obviously. You hope Joey Bosa's healthier. But I think the defense is going to be their Achilles heel. And then injuries.
Of course.
Great receiving core, but will they stay healthy? And obviously the Chiefs at number 1. But I got to say this.
What?
Bad vibes.
You think?
Hold on. Travis Kelce's talking about, I don't make as much money as I should. He couched it nicely, but he put it out there. Did he have to put it out there? He didn't have to put it out there. Right. And Chris Jones, where's Chris Jones?
Well, Chris Jones isn't there.
Okay,
that's
that's all I'm saying. They got too much talent. I'm just saying the vibes are bothering me a little bit. They got too much talent.
He said that in Vanity Fair, and he was loving it.
Yeah.
He was dressed in a fur coat next to a Ford Bronco from the 70s. He loved it.
Okay.
Coach, let's look at consecutive division titles. America's team obviously has the record, but the Chiefs getting close. What could derail the Chiefs that we're all fans of, at least?
Okay, stop it.
What?
Can you just stop it? You can't. Your son is allowed to be a Chiefs fan. You are not.
There's a lot of things that could potentially derail this team. And you could start with the 2 brand new offensive tackles. So we got to see how that works out. Although I didn't think that was a real strength of the team last year. You've got to have that continuity on the offensive line, and they've got to build that chemistry. They've got a very young receiving core. They've only got Marquez Valdez-Scantling back in terms of significant experience. And then can Kadarius Toney stay healthy? So that's one aspect too. And then when you look at the defensive line with no Chris Jones, with their starters on opening day, I think have a combined 29.5 sacks in 179 games. So that's like about 1/10 of a sack a game. So that's what you're talking about until they get Chris Jones back, until they get some, I'm not very good at pronouncing his name. The other
Charles Omenihu.
Yes,
he's
until they get
suspended
him back,
for 6 games.
There's another 6 games. So you're talking about a defensive line that's going to struggle in terms of generating pass rush. Now you add fatigue. And what I mean by fatigue is in winning back-to-back Super Bowls, which hasn't been done in 20-plus years, the reason it's so hard is because you've got to be up every single week, and it gets harder and harder each consecutive game. And can you maintain that? And Kansas City hasn't been able to do that, and there's probably a good reason for. because it's really
It's just
hard
not
to
true,
do.
though. Hold on. Wait a second.
Wait.
They have had, just wait one
You
moment.
asked why, and I love the vibe. The vibe
Hold on.
element to it.
Hold on. Just a second there. That's all I'm saying.
When you got to hold out,
One of your best players.
You're arguably, yes, definitely your
He's a great
best
player.
defensive player.
And he'll be back. He told us he'll be back
Week
at
8?
the latest by week 8. And we went through the schedule. There's no losses before then unless you're going to pick them to lose to the Prince that was promised.
So what
But
he's
they
saying
can
is
lose
don't
before.
book your ticket to New England
No.
because that game won't matter.
No. What I am saying very clearly is that we need Chris Jones desperately for the postseason. He will be back for the postseason. That's first of all. Second of all, the last time the Chiefs were Super Bowl champions, they were 14-1 and rested people in the final week of the year. Now, in the Super Bowl, they got their butts kicked. And if we think that's because they, for some vibes reason or a hangover, no, that wasn't why. It was because they had 5 new offensive linemen, and credit to the Brady and the Bucks for beating them. But the idea that this team, there is any concern that having won the Super Bowl, they won't rise to the occasion, there is no evidence of that. And you're right, they don't have a lot of great receivers coming back, except for a couple that Coach didn't mention, who scored touchdowns in the Super Bowl. So
Tony's got to stay healthy.
What I'm
he's
saying,
going to be back week 1.
And with Tony, he's been up and down in terms of from an injury perspective,
right.
and those other young guys have to prove they can do it consistently. Now they've got the advantage of having Patrick Mahomes, but we asked what could derail it. If that doesn't develop the way they hope it develops, that's something that potentially is an issue. And 2 new offensive linemen are 2 new offensive linemen, and hopefully it's an upgrade. Hopefully it's an upgrade, but there's a chemistry component to the offensive line if it's going to be successful at a high level.
Orlando Brown
0
Jr.
times
is
this
pretty good.
preseason.
I know you're down on him, but
Both Brew and Nick have the Broncos and the Raiders missing the playoffs. A healthy Jimmy G has never missed the playoffs. And Sean Payton has basically said his Broncos are a playoff team. He also said, no bucket hats. Coach, who's more likely to be playoff bound? Jimmy G, who Brew abandoned, or Russ, who Brew abandoned?
Well, as much as Nick killed Minnesota yesterday for winning close games and being resilient and giving him no credit for that, now we're also not going to take into account the fact that the Raiders lost the way that they did last year, and the odds of that happening are also pretty slim.
That's why I don't have them in last place.
So they're both slim, and they did win 6 games last year, and they broke an NFL record for losing double-digit losses. That's not going to happen again. This is a second year in the defensive system. That should be much better. Jimmy G should be an upgrade over Derek Carr.
Really?
And here's where I'm going with this is he has a relationship with Josh. He understands the system. They're going to be able to do things that they couldn't do with Derek Carr from a system perspective, which should make them more effective offensively than they were last year, just from a scheme perspective. Now, if he can stay healthy, which we all know is a gigantic if. But if that's the case, they should be a lot more productive and a lot more successful than they were last season. I agree with you.
Brew, I think you made a strategic error.
You think the Raiders are making the playoffs?
All his teams and his players?
You're the Jimmy G guy.
Yeah.
He just gave you a great list of
You are the Jimmy G guy.
Not anymore.
Not over yet.
He'll probably get hurt, unfortunately.
Gee whiz.
Unfortunately.
All right, let's turn our attention to the AFC South.
It's a coronation.
Okay. Trevor Lawrence
Everyone agrees.
and the Jags are the darlings of the league. Titans lost 7 in a row to close out last year, but do have D-Hop now, and 2 new faces, Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud. So, Nick, what do you got?
All right, I'll go very quick here. Houston's going to finish last. Luckily for them, they don't have their own pick because their GM, who is 6-26-1 since coming over from New England, who said today, we can't be judged on our record. It's about the process. I don't know what they're doing there, but they really wanted Will Anderson. I like DeMeco Ryans, but he is in for a hell of a season. And by the way, if they don't win at home against Indy in week 2, they could be winless well past Halloween. Speaking of Indy.
And I like Nick a lot personally, but he certainly judged the previous 2 head coaches by the
Yeah, he's on his 3rd head coach. That's absolutely right. He's on his 3rd head coach. He's 6-26-1. Got to judge us on our process. Well, your process was you traded away next year's first-round pick, which is going to be a top 4 pick. I don't understand it. I said I'd go quick. Sorry, I got a little worked up there. Indy. I'm excited to watch Anthony Richardson. I think Shane Steichen could be quite good. I don't know what they're doing with Jonathan Taylor. I don't know what the latest Jim Irsay tweet's going to be. I have them in 3rd place. They'd be in last place in most divisions. Number 2 is the Titans. The question is, do they pull the plug on Ryan Tannehill? Malik Willis didn't look close to ready. Now they drafted Will Levis. Right. They know they eventually need to go and rebuild. But is Vrabel too good of a coach for them to ever really fully bottom out? I think Vrabel is a great head coach, a truly great head coach, but I don't trust the team. And then, of course, the coronation, the prince who was promised year 2, Peyton or year 3 for him, just like Peyton Manning 2.0, led the league in touchdowns, led the league in yards in year 3 as the defending AFC South champion. I see something similar happening for the prince, and while all you guys mocked me all last year and all this year, I would imagine every single person at this table is picking the Jags to win that division and go back to the playoffs. Brew, I'm excited to see your playoff picks.
At number 4, you got that wrong. It'll be the Colts.
Okay.
All right, I like Anthony Richardson, but he's going to be up and down. He can run the football. What was he, 6-17, and he's doing this? I mean, it's going to be a roller coaster ride for him throwing the football, but I think maybe a bright future. Jonathan Taylor, we know what's going on with that. As far as missing at least the first 4 games. At number 3, I got Houston. Look, DeMeco Ryans, I like Will Anderson. C.J. Stroud, I guess if he's going to be the quarterback, I do like him a lot. Obviously, as a rookie, he'll have his ups and downs. But they're coming off 3 horrible years. I think the future is brighter, and I think they can finish 3rd. At number 2, we've got the Titans. Like you said, Vrabel, great coach. Derrick Henry, he didn't look spent last year. He didn't look like he was washed, so he'll still do his thing. The only thing I don't like about Trevor Lawrence
there's nothing.
is that Nick is so obnoxious about him and picked him early. I like Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, stop, bro.
But
What are you doing
Nick
today?
goes so overboard on him with the wins.
We've all
and
known
the
it. Brew's a
trumpets,
big
the
Trevor
bugle
Lawrence guy.
boys, and
Doesn't
all
believe
that.
in Jimmy G.
It's a weak division too. It's a
Okay.
weak division, but I expect Trevor to have a
Coach,
good
can I show you something, a stat? Because we're filled with a lot of propaganda on this show.
A ton.
Here's how Trevor Lawrence's year went last year. You would think it was just perfect the whole year. Well, through weeks 1 through 8, it was mediocre. Then he caught fire, beat the Cowboys on national television. Everybody watched it and said, wow, this guy's great. And then week 16, through his playoff games, he threw 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, including 4 interceptions in the first half of 1 playoff game.
That means in the other 5 games, he threw 2. Is what that would be.
Just adding it up. Coach, is the hype for Trevor Lawrence justified or a little too much?
Yeah, like bringing in the guys that play the flutes or whatever they play.
The Royal Trumpeters.
is over the top and way too early. And look at his season last year. He had a 5-game losing streak at the beginning of the season. He did have a 5-game winning streak at the end of the season, but it wasn't like it was prolific in terms of interceptions or in terms of touchdowns. He had 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, but much better.
Sure.
And then now he ends with a 96 quarterback rating. You go into the playoffs, and he's got 2 games with a 70 and a 74 quarterback rating.
Hold on.
So he's 25 points
so
lower
ridiculous.
than he was in the regular season. So we're going to kill Josh Allen for being up and down. We're going to coronate. We're going to coronate this guy. And
Josh Allen is talked about like he's the best or the second best quarterback in football. Trevor Lawrence, folks, on this show, we're saying he's not as good as Mac Jones. He might be a bust. And if we are not going to act as if for any other player in the league, we would talk about the resiliency in playing the worst half of football of your life, being down 4 scores in your first ever playoff game and leading a comeback like we saw. Nobody ever says when the 28-3 comeback
all the
for
scores
Brady.
because of how poorly he played.
Right.
The 28-3 comeback, no one ever says, well, it would have been just 21-3. We didn't throw that pick 6. How impressive is it? No.
He threw 4. I'm sure we would mention
Okay.
it.
All right, that's fine. Listen, guys, I'm happy. I thought after last year, the Trevor Lawrence thing wouldn't be that good of a topic on the show because everyone would have literally bent the knee as you did when the trumpeters came. And then we would.
He had trumpeters for Carson Wentz. He had trumpeters
no,
for
I
Dak
did not
Prescott.
have.
He had trumpeters for Baker
Carson
Mayfield.
Wentz. That is
it doesn't
true.
matter who it is.
None of
He's
it's
got
true.
a trumpeter
Coach,
for him.
that is the record does not reflect.
They're in the green room right now.
Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence and
Anthony
Caleb
Richards,
Williams.
bring out the trumpeters.
That's
Joe Burrow back at practice and a fresh episode of Weird and Wonderful next.
Everyone knows that when you want every score, the best highlights, and the biggest stories from the sports world, you go to foxsports.com. But did you know all of your favorites from Fox Sports can come to you? Announcing your Fox Sports Daily. Fox Sports' all-new, customized daily newsletter delivering the top sports news and videos you care about every day. All you need to do is sign up on foxsports.com or on the Fox Sports app. And then just follow your favorite teams, athletes, and leagues to get only the news you want. The more favorites you add, the more personalized your Fox Sports Daily will be. So sign up today on foxsports.com or on the Fox Sports app and stay updated on the sports stories that matter to you.
Joe Burrow might not have a new contract extension, but it looks like he does have a healthy calf. Here he is practicing, and not really, this is not video of him practicing, more video of just him walking, but still will take it. Bengals open up against the Browns in week 1. Burrow's record against his Ohio rivals, 1-4.
Yeah, Baker owned him.
Actually easier to beat the Chiefs than it is the Browns.
Well, for him, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Nick, does Joe Burrow need to make a statement?
He needs the Bengals and he need a good start. It's one thing, other than a Super Bowl, it's the only thing they haven't done since he's been there. They've been to a Super Bowl, obviously, but they haven't won it. But his rookie year, who cares? They were going to be a terrible team. It was a bad start. Second year, they started 5-4. Last year, they started 4-4. At some point during that start, some esteemed television analysts abandoned them entirely, said they threw them to the wolves, said guaranteed they wouldn't make the playoffs. And I think they need an easier path back to the Super Bowl than the one they've had.
Right.
And so they are constantly on the road after round 1 of the playoffs. To their credit, they are in the playoffs, both of Burrow's healthy years. But yeah, because I know, Coach, you, I think, believe in the Browns more than anyone at the table. But that's a game you should win. And it's a divisional rival that, again, to Wilds' point, you have not had success against. And so, yeah, I think a statement, not so much as they need to have like a 3-1 September, which they've never had with Burrow.
Some teams match up better against other teams, and that's how it works. And when you look at what the Bengals consistently do to Kansas City, there's that element where they consistently beat Kansas City, but they just can't beat the Browns. And you do have to get over that hump. But in terms of it being an issue where you win the first game and that sets the tone for things, it's not necessarily the case. The first game of the season is so difficult to get ready for because there's so many unknowns. There's the stuff that you're doing that you practiced and haven't shown. There's the stuff that they do. It's hard that first game to really gauge where a team is. In New England, we got beat 30-0 one opening game and then ended up winning the Super Bowl. Getting over the Browns hump would be great for him. But more importantly to me, playing a game and seeing that his calf is okay, that is by far the most important thing for Cincinnati. Well,
and Nick, one of the reasons they've started poorly, maybe the main reason, is that Burrow's missed the training camps. And so it's the same thing here. So like Coach said, obviously you just want to get him through the game, but let him work off the rust. Because I think it's a good chance they start 0-2. I'm not guaranteeing it. They could beat Cleveland, but they haven't won there since 2017. And then they got Baltimore after that. But their next 4 games are very winnable. So I think they could start 0-2. And with 17 games, still be fine. But just get the rust off of him in the first couple of weeks.
That's legit. But he is back at practice today. And I know Coach made fun of me for this yesterday. He was in good nature. But when Joe Burrow got hurt, some of the best NFL reporters in the world said, don't expect to see Joe Burrow on a Bengals practice field again until that contract's done. And I brought up yesterday that it is odd, and it is an unspoken odd NFL story, that the most no-brainer of all the 4 quarterbacks who we thought were going to get contracts this offseason, the one who has accomplished the most, the one who was the number 1 pick, the one who has basically been a perfect NFL player, aside from getting his knee blown out because they didn't build an offensive line his rookie year, that he still hasn't gotten paid. And the fact that we are now, what are we, 12 days away from the first Bengals game of the year, and he still hasn't gotten that contract is an odd, simmering story. Yeah. It's an odd story.
So is Chris Jones.
Well, we know what's happening. No, but
they need to pay him because
coming up next,
it's just going to cost more in the future.
They
talking about the
That's the thing.
We know what's happening with Chris Jones.
Do we?
Harper hits one in the air, looks back, it goes! Harper, the swing of his life!
MLB playoffs are near, and you know what that means, Alex?
Yep, Flippin' Bats will be staying up late and having all the fun.
From breaking down the most important stories in games, nobody's done what he's doing. Nobody, not even Babe Ruth.
To interviewing baseball's biggest stars.
I felt like I was pitching more stressed. I was trying to be so perfect.
No one covers America's pastime like us.
So as we sprint towards this year's World Series on Fox, please make sure to listen, follow, and subscribe to Flippin' Bats with Ben Verlander and me, Alex Curry.
Baseball is fun, and so are we. We're going to have fun, dang it! We'll talk to you soon.
Now you see him, now you don't. Now you see him on the practice squad. America's team cut all the quarterbacks not named Mac Jones yesterday, and then voila, Zappy's back on the practice squad along with Malik Cunningham. So this looks, sorry. So the question in the rundown, I had to go freestyle a little bit, was, quote, what's going on with New England? And you wanted me to ask Coach that.
Yeah.
Okay, I got confused.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask him that.
Damn.
Okay.
I'm going to ask, would you like to apologize to me?
Why?
For
Why?
a very serious reason.
Tell me.
The show is built on chemistry.
Uh-huh.
And every once in a while, you could say, Kevin, your take is really wrong. That's not how the salary cap works.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man, good thing I didn't say that on TV.
Yeah.
I would have looked like a fool.
Yeah.
And you kept on saying there's a quarterback controversy in New England. And I kept on saying, on the air and behind the scenes, don't say that.
Yeah.
It's bad for the show. Mm-hmm. It's bad for your career.
Yeah.
And you didn't believe me.
Correct.
And you almost tanked the show.
Okay.
And then Zappy got released, and there's never a quarterback controversy.
Yeah, well.
So I just want you to apologize and get the show back on track.
That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is, do you remember 6-7 years ago when they brought in Jimmy Garoppolo to replace Tom Brady? And then in order to make sure that didn't happen, they had to get him out of the building.
Oh,
maybe that's what. I can't even say Mac Jones won the job. He's the only quarterback on the roster. He's the starter by default.
I can't believe you're comparing Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones to
listen,
Garoppolo and Tom Brady.
I'd inspire Brady to
I don't understand. I will be honest here. Wilds, it appears, at least for the time being, you were correct.
Thank you.
Also, and I never say this, and this is where I do want to ask Coach, I don't understand this. I don't understand the Patriots. It's not about Mac versus Zappy. It's that every team has to have a backup quarterback. They are going to have a...
They brought him back.
They brought him back to the practice squad.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to have a backup quarterback on your active roster. So what are they doing? What is the purpose of this? Because in order to put Bailey Zappi or Malik Cunningham on your active roster, you're going to have to cut somebody anyway. So I don't understand why the Patriots are the first team in my lifetime to have the initial 53-man roster cut and have one quarterback on it. That part you were right, Wilds, in all seriousness.
We did do it a few years ago with Brian Hoyer and Cam. They both got cut. Cam was...
Yes,
we
but
didn't sign Cam, but then Hoyer went to practice, and all of a sudden he's back on the squad.
Well, look, when you're making these cuts, you're trying to evaluate who has the best potential to be picked up by another team. And as you go through it, and New England obviously has an issue at offensive line. They had to trade for a couple of guys. They don't know where that's going to fall based off of an injury, who's going to, all the different variables, trying to figure that out. So they couldn't lose any of those offensive linemen. So as you're evaluating the guys that have the best chance to get through the waiver wire, they looked at those two quarterbacks and felt like at least one was going to get through, and arguably both would, and they were right. Both would get through. So now you have all this time to continue to look at this offensive line group, figure it out, look at the rest of the guys that you had to protect because you felt like they were going to get claimed by somebody else. And then when you get close to the game, you bump up one of those guys, and someone else could go on IR. A lot of things can happen.
Is it not a big risk that a fourth-round pick quarterback in Zappy, who I thought in the games last year played well, are you not running a big risk that somebody's just going to claim him?
You're running a risk whenever you put a guy on the wire, but you try to make it a calculated risk. And when there's so many guys hitting the wire at the same time, and every team's in love with the guys that they have, you've got 90 guys in your roster. You only get to keep 53. There's a bunch that you want to get through waivers as well, and you're looking at the rest of the league. So this like huge wave of players become available. So you have a good chance to get your guy through unless someone is absolutely in love with the player that you cut.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you know what they're writing in Boston? It's Mac's team. So take a bow, my friend.
Well, thank you.
You got about how many days we got left to the start of the season? This is your time to shine, because once it starts,
I mean, they could have gone and gotten another quarterback too.
I thought they might go get Colt McCoy
or Carson Wentz or.
Hey, let's go to break.
Wentz,
Carson Wentz has better statistics than a lot of guys who are on the street right now.
And you said I had the trumpeters for Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, your guy. Look at that. Look at Coach. Came in for Carson Wentz.
When we're evaluating the New England situation, you can go get a guy like Carson Wentz who can get you through games.
Why not with this Carson Wentz stuff? No, we've got 3 quarterbacks. We don't need Carson Wentz and his bad vibes.
He's got better numbers than Sam Darnold when you look at the numbers.
We got to go to break. We got to go to break.
Put him in a good good
Coming up
system.
next, Prediction Weeks continues. Talking Brock Purdy in the NFC West next. Holy cow, Carson Wentz, we went off the
through
deep end
27
there.
touchdowns.
Makes sense.
Hey, college football fans, this is RJ Young, host of Fox Sports' #1 college football show. The biggest names, the biggest games. The theme is we do it big on this here thing. Please subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're in the midst of Prediction Weeks. We got another round, bro. Welcome to day 3 of Prediction Week. These predictions are set in stone and we will be staked to them for the rest of the year. One caveat for you at home. Any past proclamations heard here about being a member of the Iowa State Mafia should be taken into account when you hear these
Right.
predictions.
Any home teams, I can claim at some point.
Well, yeah,
that gives me a lot of wiggle room.
I'm not talking about you.
A lot of wiggle room.
Particularly, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. We'll predict every division, every award, and every playoff game, and we start now with the basement of the NFC West.
All right, it is odd that last place is actually, in some ways, the second best in the world. But in this case, it is. In last place will be the Arizona Cardinals. They will be in last place in the NFC West. They will be in last place in the NFC. They will be last place in the NFL. That means they will get the best prize of any team all year other than the Lombardi Trophy, which is Caleb Williams. Congrats to them on their next 15 years of pending success. Number 3, the Los Angeles Rams. The best thing they could do, honestly, this year is to throw their 2 games against the Cardinals to prevent Caleb Williams from coming to that division. They're not going to do that. They have Aaron Donald. They have Matt Stafford. I'm not sure how long they're going to have Aaron Donald or Cooper Kupp. They probably should be turning the ship in the tanking direction themselves, but they don't want to do that. They have about $70 million in dead money. The bleep them picks philosophy got them a Super Bowl. Now it's going to get them a few years of trying to have to dig themselves out of that hole. Number 2. But making the playoffs is the San Francisco 49ers. The Purdy regression is inevitable. And it is shocking to me how many people are just all in on this player because of a half dozen good games with Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle. I don't think that is going to be sustainable. I also, despite the pending scoffs at the table, do not think the football gods are going to smile fondly upon the process of the San Francisco 49ers of abandoning Trey Lance at 23 years old and bringing in Sam Darnold and giving him more hype than you ever gave to a player you were deeply invested in that you never gave a real chance to. Team the football gods, however, will love, and who also the data analysts love, the Seattle Seahawks. They started 2 rookie tackles last year, not only survived it, but thrived. Geno Smith, who a lot of people feel like had not gotten a fair shake yet in this league, finally did as a veteran quarterback and delivered, leading the NFC in touchdown passes. The defense will be even better because they played so many young players, so many rookies last year. They might have the best corner in the entire NFC in Reek Woolen. I think they have the most under-discussed great receiving core in the league. They will always have a good running game, and they have an excellent head coach. Seattle Seahawks get back to the playoffs, and win the division.
Well, you got the last choice right, the Arizona Cardinals. But I think this is interesting. Are they going to keep Kyler out the whole year? I mean, because if he starts playing, he's going to try to win games, and they might win a few.
Call of Duty games.
And so, that leads to the second question.
Yeah.
How tradable will Kyler Murray be?
You'll get a first.
With that contract, with questions about his study habits, questions about how he fits in with his teammates, his leadership, like, I get that they're tanking, but I just think it's not going to be as neat
for a first-round pick
think.
Twice. Darnold went for a second, a fourth, and a sixth.
It's not going to be as neat as you think, right? And people learn from that stuff. But just like they learned with a lot of the running backs. I mean, Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, so on and so forth. All right, at number 3, the Rams. We agree on that. Aaron Donald, will he get traded? That's going to be the big question. I'm sure he's not motivated. Remember, he almost retired, or that might have been just to get money, but he can't be motivated to play for the Rams right now. So we'll see if he gets traded. At number 2, this is where you go off to. The Seahawks. And you notice I don't have them even in the playoffs.
Oh, that's
because
ridiculous.
You talked about Brock Purdy turning back into a pumpkin. No, it's going to be Geno Smith. He already did it in the last 5. They went 3-5 in their last 8 games. Look at him over the last 5 games. Great early on, but then you get a little tape. You start taking him seriously. You start taking him seriously. Yeah, there wasn't much tape his first, 10 years, 9 years. He was scout team and all that. Let me see that again, Dusty. Nick, you need to look at this. Everything, the TD interception, terrible. The passer rating,
it's not terrible.
It ain't great. It's not what he did last year.
Well, it is last year.
No, but I'm saying the beginning of the season, it is.
You know what Gino's not going to do to Brew?
Like Trevor Lawrence numbers.
That's what he's not. Gino's not going to write back.
I don't know if that's in the lexicon.
Number one, I can't believe you don't have the Niners number one.
No,
now I'm assuming they get things straightened out with Nick Bosa. They will. But Brock Purdy, I don't see a regression. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar, but all the weapons he has, all they have to do is stay healthy. Big deal for them. But if they're healthy, come on, man, that defense. That defense is awesome.
Coach, you can be the deciding vote.
Awesome.
Brew, member of Iowa State Mafia, along with Brock Purdy.
Just
Here's
Iowa
his numbers.
Mafia.
Nick says he was just a flash in the pan, although he did lead in yards per pass, and he did lead the whole NFL in passer rating. Do you think Brock Purdy is the real deal? I know it's a 7-game stretch, but when Trevor Lawrence has a 7-game stretch.
Exactly. Trevor Lawrence has had a 7-year stretch.
He did?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
what about that?
Sophomore year of high school, last year at college.
How was that first rookie year?
7 years. No, it ended. It was college.
Okay. He was good.
Coach Brock Purdy.
Look, I love the Brock Purdy story. Now, it's a great story. It's not as good as Geno Smith's story, and your vibes are all off.
Thank you,
But
Coach.
he comes in. They're 8-4. Now, if you look at Jimmy Garoppolo, when he came in, they were 1-10. They both went 5-0 when they started. Brock Purdy's numbers were a little bit better in terms of touchdowns. Interceptions were a little bit better as well. But you're talking about one guy who comes into a team that hadn't won anything versus one guy who comes into a loaded team and plays pretty well. And I'm really impressed with what he did. But I went and watched his touchdowns this afternoon. I watched his interceptions this afternoon.
Yeah.
And a lot of the touchdowns, it's on the stat sheet, it says 60-yard completion, but it's a screen. It says 40-yard completion, and it's a shallow cross. He throws 2 other touchdowns. There's not a guy within 12 yards of the wide receiver.
You know what
That won't be the case this year? Devo's going to be better.
Well, I'm saying that he did a good job on a loaded team. But when you look at what Jimmy Garoppolo did versus what he did, it's a little bit more impressive. And the odds of him being able to complete or continue on the upward trend or maintain a 116 quarterback rating,
or have a half dozen dropped. What you know we should watch instead of his interceptions or his touchdowns is dropped interceptions. That's a fun 12-minute YouTube video. Guys,
the weapons haven't gone anywhere.
That's
the
fine.
play calling hasn't gone anywhere.
This is important and good for the show because since you have abandoned Jimmy, you've abandoned Russ. You need
I was giving you a layup on Jimmy.
Yeah, you just threw
They're
Gino
making the
out.
playoffs. I keep it real. I'm about facts, not feelings.
Yeah. So, but we now it is established. Do you have your gavel?
No.
Brock Purdy is Brew's guy. He's your guy. You want him, right?
Iowa Mafia.
There we go. Okay.
I'm not saying
MVP.
Dark horse.
I'm
not ready to go
Why not?
there.
They're going to win the division.
I'm not ready to go there, but
okay, how's we
going to do
NFC South time. Brady is gone. Carr is here. Baker is back. Desmond Ridder enters his sophomore year, and Bryce Young tries to right the ship in Carolina.
Yep.
Nick, take it away.
Number 4, the Carolina Panthers. Another team like Houston that traded away their number 1 pick. At least Carolina did it to move all the way up to number 1 to get Bryce Young, but he is going to get killed behind a non-existent offensive line, and when he doesn't get killed, he's going to be throwing the non-existent weapons. That might be the worst offense in the league next year. It's going to be a tough opening for Bryce Young. Number 3, Baker can only do so much. They've got $90 million in dead money. That means 45% of their roster doesn't exist. It's going, or their salary cap space. Again, there's a cost to buying Super Bowls and buying. I mean, does the Super Bowl even count if it's a home Super Bowl too? Like, I don't even get it.
It counts.
Good for
It's a little tainted, a little gross. But Baker can only do so much. I think Baker will be okay. I think he'll throw to some good weapons, but that team is going to struggle to a degree. Then, the most overrated team in the league, the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Saints Saints continue to pretend they are in contention, and they continue to kick the salary cap can down the road. So eventually those chickens will come home to roost. In the meantime, what they're going to be able to satiate themselves with is another 8 wins. Like, okay, that's fine. But at some point, you're going to have to admit you are not in the championship window. And then the division champion, the Atlanta Falcons, led by Offensive Rookie of the Year and Offensive Player of the Year and the pending rushing champion, Bijan Robinson. The Atlanta Falcons will lead the league in rushing. They have Drake London, they have Kyle Pitts, and they have the softest division in the entire NFL. I think they can go 10-7 and win the NFC South, and Bijan Robinson can have a Marshall Faulk-esque 2,000 yards from scrimmage.
Wow.
I believe all of that, so there it is.
At number 4, Knicks Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They're not mine. I have them third. They're
Baker, you claimed Baker years ago. He's your guy.
Yeah.
All right, and Baker will not be starting midway through the season. It'll be Kyle Trask, all right? Okay. And Todd Bowles, it's going to be a tough year for him. So at number 3, Carolina. All right, you're right. I like Bryce Young, and I like Frank Wright. So I think that's a great duo, but they just don't have much else. His weapons aren't that bad. Chark and Adam Thielen, but the line is tough. And Thielen, I like Thielen. All right, at number 2, the Falcons in the playoffs. I agree with you.
You have 2 NFC South playoff teams and the Seahawks missing?
Yep.
Wow.
Because the Atlanta, their run game is great, and it's just going to get great. It was great last year. Yeah. Top 3 team in the league rushing, and now you add Bijan. He is going to have a great year. I don't know about Rookie of the Year, but he will have a great year. And then at number 1, obviously, the Saints.
I like that one.
Like I said, Derek Carr, he's an upgrade. Derek Carr has never had even a top 19 defense.
Not even top
Now
19.
he's got a top 10 defense. First time in his career.
Can I ask
He's got some weapons. Chris Olave. I don't know if Michael Thomas will stay healthy. But if he does,
Can I just ask a question real quick?
And I'm from
Carr,
Louisiana.
So I just want to make sure I understand it. Because Derek Carr, you're high. You think he's going to be able to have success, a level in New Orleans that he couldn't have in Las Vegas? I just want to make sure I understand.
Because he's got a better defense.
No, but it's not the coaching thing, because I know you were saying the coach, because are you a big Dennis Allen guy? Are we big on the Saints?
Dennis Allen has had his struggles. Is Dennis Allen calling the plays?
Okay.
They got a new offensive coordinator.
Okay.
Or different
Right,
offensive coordinator. So
everybody loves the Saints, man.
Yeah, they should.
Everybody loves the Saints.
I like Derek Carr.
You like the Saints?
Yeah. I like Baker, to be honest with you.
Oh, good job.
Stop it.
Well, I just want to root for Baker. I want to root for Baker. I don't think he's had a fair shot.
You got feelings for him.
I
but
do.
This is about what really is
Baker.
going to happen on the gridiron.
14 guys on that list. That's Baker's list of head coaches and offensive coordinators. I didn't do the math, but I think it's double Tom Brady's, and Baker hasn't been in the league that long.
I think those would be called excuses.
That's not excuses. That's continuity. It's a reason. Anyways, Coach, give me your outlook on Baker.
Okay, first of all, I'm worried because I agree with Nick on both champions that he chose. So again, that might be a cautionary tale.
Should be worried,
Might be a
Coach.
cautionary tale for anybody who's watching. I think it's going to be hard for Baker. You're taking over for a legend. You've lost your All-Pro center. You couldn't run the ball a lick last year, and you lost your All-Pro center. 25% of your team is rookies. There's a lot of things that he's going to have to overcome for them to be successful.
A bad fit for him then.
But he's fortunate in the division that he's playing because there's no team in that division that just. I like Atlanta a lot, but there's no team that just is a slam dunk home run to win out there. And if Baker gets hot, and Baker can show that he's closer to early Baker than what we've seen here recently, I'm cheering for him too. And
everybody's rooting for him.
It took me a while, but I'm cheering for him because he's the underdog now, not because
Bijan Robinson, Rookie of the Year.
I like Bijan Robinson a lot. I like a lot of their offense.
He likes running the ball.
Talking
about Chris Jones.
I have a bias.
He's not there.
No, he's not there.
Well, it's kind of a big deal.
The Chiefs win a lot of defense.
Bad vibes.
Kind of a big deal.
There's not bad vibes.
The Chiefs. Wow, look at this play. That was important.
Yeah, it's in the playoffs.
How about this one? Another great play from Chris
I think
Jones.
they won that game by like 17, so I think they would have been okay.
Okay, maybe these don't matter. Maybe you should let him release them. Right now, it does not look like Chris Jones will be on the field next Thursday when the Chiefs play the Lions.
Yeah. All right, America, I'm just going to jump in here because America, what's about to happen is you're going to hear from one honest arbiter and 3 charlatans. 3 people that are going to say a lot of things they do not believe. And I hate to say that about my colleagues, but it's about to happen because what they're going to try to do is try to act like they're concerned when they're not. Because is Chris Jones a great player? No question. Does Chris Jones deserve to be paid? Absolutely. Is he going to get paid by the Chiefs? He is.
Okay, then get it done. What are you waiting for?
Thank you,
cap changes?
The
new TV deal coming that I'm not aware of?
Okay, so again, I'm talking to the audience, not you jackals right now. Again, it's a bunch of, misdirection to avoid this simple question. If Chris Jones misses the first 7 games, which is the absolute worst case scenario, how bad is it really? So I would ask everyone this question. Is Patrick Mahomes the best he's ever been right now?
It's very good.
Okay. Is the defense ever going to be worse than it was Mahomes' rookie year when it was literally last? Or not his rookie year, his first year starting? No. So that was the worst Mahomes and the worst defense. How did it go? They went 12-4 and lost in overtime of the AFC title game to the greatest player who ever lived, right? And we didn't even get the rules changed like those crybaby Buffalo Bills did after an overtime playoff loss. So Wilds is about to tell you, but Jared Goff, when he's not pressured, they could lose that opening game. Could they? Because here's how Mahomes does. Well, it's not just 5-0. Because you'd be like, but that's with Chris Jones. Here's how Mahomes does in season openers. So all you got to do to beat the Chiefs in the season opener is score at least 38. If you think the Lions can do that, bully for them. And then the next question would be, what is the Chiefs' worst-case scenario record-wise through 7 weeks? We can show you their schedule. Because, Coach, as it happens,
I love the schedule.
As it happens, Coach, all of the divisional road games, the game against Buffalo, the game against Philly, the game against the Bengals, the game at New England, all of the games are after Week 8. Aside from the revenge game against the Jags, who maimed Patrick's ankle in the playoffs with an incredibly dirty, potentially illegal play, they don't have a tough game through the first 7 weeks.
Really?
Really.
Look, I think it's good for them that they open with Detroit and Jacksonville because those are 2 high-powered offenses, and it'll show them how much they can survive without Chris Jones. All right, so I think they could split those first 2. No question. And then the Jets is going to be a tough game. So that's 3 tough games in your first 4. Okay. So maybe that'll help Chris Jones. Maybe if they struggle early, they'll get Chris Jones back, and say, look, we need him now. We better get him back.
It's amazing to me. Nick has always been an advocate for players and always been an advocate for players.
I want him to get money.
Paid. He says that, but yet in the same token, he says, we don't need Chris Jones.
Not when we had 7 weeks.
When we had the worst defense in the world, we could still win. We don't need Chris Jones. So Chris Jones, if you're watching, make sure that you tweet at Nick because he has single-handedly said you are not significant for them to win the game.
Wait a second.
We don't need him.
Hold on. Wait a second. Again, we just got to be honest here.
That
is
Chiefs honest.
GM has said they are paying him, and that one of the reasons.
What are you waiting for?
What are we doing?
Guys, is Nick Bosa going to be on the Niners this year?
He's so mad that they don't pay Joe Burrow, but he's not mad at Chris. He's mad about Joe Burrow, but he's not mad about you.
I'm not mad about Joe Burrow. I find it curious that a deal that is very easy to get done, that we all said was going to get done, has not gotten done. The Chris Jones thing is not complicated.
Right.
It's not complicated on why it is not gotten done. The second highest paid defensive tackle in football makes $24 million a year. The highest paid makes $32 million a year. Because of that Aaron Donald outlier contract, they're at an impasse. They are at an impasse that it would appear is lasting longer than anyone expected. And I think Chris Jones is wildly important to their ability to win 3 consecutive playoff games. Yeah, to win the Super Bowl.
They're not going 20-0 without him.
Can they go 7-0 without him?
No, not with this schedule.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs missed 1/2 of practice, 4 hours of everything on field time, and we were like, bad vibes, worst vibes. This guy is going to miss 2 months of games, and we're like,
hold on. This is where.
Hold
on. But this is where I will say again, you're all being dishonest. Because right now, this moment, if Chris Jones announced his retirement, And what
Different vibes.
No.
Retirement's a different vibe.
No. If the argument is they have to have him, I'm just curious. Would anyone at this table say the Chiefs, who are currently the Vegas Super Bowl favorites, if Chris Jones announced his retirement, that should substantially change? Would anyone?
A retirement is a different.
Let's see how that defensive line plays without him. You've got a lot of young, inexperienced guys with very little production. Let's see how they do without him.
For a team that has had a bad defense every year of the last 5 years, and they're the winningest team in the league over the last 5 years.
So don't pay any defensive players on the Chiefs.
No,
that's Nick's message.
that's not my message.
Ben Simmons back to Philly next.
That's not my message.
Another guy.
And he's going to get $30 million a year.
Sat out.
Then ban.
Pay him. Ben Simmons update. Sat down with Mark Spears. He said he's locked in and floated this idea, Brew. I'm just reading you a direct quote from Mark Spears, who, by the way, has been doing an awesome job getting these interviews.
And did he just make the Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame?
Yeah, shout out to him.
Yes.
Great job. I'll always have love for Philly. People always ask me, like, if you were to get traded again, where would you want it to be? I'm not sure anyone asked him that, for the record. I always say, just Philly. Philly is a second home to me. Brew, your reaction.
Bizarre. And if I'm Philadelphia, because obviously two have to, make this happen, there's no way I want Ben Simmons back.
Zero?
Zero. And he would have to not only get back to what he was early in his career, which was 15, 8-8, he'd have to be way better. I'm not convinced. He said he's going to be dominant this year. He was just talking a lot, which is nice to see him confident, but come on, I got to see it. I'm sorry.
I like it.
And no, I Philly, I don't
You
want
like
to see a
it?
reunion. No reunion.
Well, last time I saw James Harden, he's calling Daryl Morey a liar and said he would never play for him.
Yeah.
I like it. I know there's
in
stats that Daryl
Wait, you
Morey's
wanna-
got
you
that
wanna
like,
run
hey,
that-
you and Ben work, Joel.
You want to run the Harden Ben trade
You want
back?
him back in Philly?
I like it.
No,
I
okay.
Give me
All right.
something better. Who you
There
got for
are.
Harden?
I'm not gonna
Well, Nets,
use
I don't
proper
think Nets
nouns
would do
here.
that
I'm not going to
now.
name names, but there are certain people in the NBA media podcasting space that no matter what they say, Wild is like not doing it on the show. There's nothing this person could say that it's going to make the show. They just say ridiculous things. So we're not even going to engage in it. Ben Simmons, everything he says is ridiculous. Everything he says. And I understand there is a part of me that would like to be more empathetic about whatever he is or isn't going through. But then you check out your Instagram feed and he's trolling who? The Sixers, right?
Hey.
Who was his second home,
Right.
second team. That happened
having a
recently,
glass of wine.
didn't
He
it?
did do that.
Very
The
recently,
wine got to him.
that happened. So Ben Simmons is, in my opinion, not an active NBA player. So him talking about where he wants to play is not all that relevant. So no, I don't buy it.
If he comes back and looks
He's not
great,
coming back.
his back feels
There's
good.
no way he's going to Philly.
He's not. His
I
back.
would
Where's
love-
Harden going?
I would love him to play.
Let's see it.
Why would
Speak.
Brooklyn
Up next,
do that?
prediction week continues tomorrow and the